Hi, everyone. We are with Miss Bailey with two E's, and she is a master's student at Point Loma in San Diego. And we're going to do a mock interview today. It's really cool what that program has, some opportunities for their students to get out there, get their feet wet, go through some interviews. And she reached out, very, very professional. And that's one of the first things that I look at when we do interviews, professionalism. And then when it comes to the interview, do you look the part and can you talk the part? And so we're going to go through a mock interview today. I'm going to show you guys what it would be like if you ever wanted to train or go through an interview at Show Up Fitness. And so that's the intro. Now we are there. She showed up 5 minutes before the Zoom call. So that's a great first start. Resume was great. 1 page, awesome credentials. We're going to dig more into those. But we're going to start off on one of my favorite questions, which have you ever been in New York before, Bailey?
I have not.
All right. So we are at the bottom of the Empire State Building, and it takes roughly 1 minute to get to the top. I got my clock out and you and I are in there. I want to know everything about you in 1 minute. Go.
All right. So I'm originally from Idaho. I moved out here almost 4 years ago to pursue collegiate volleyball and then also go to school to get my undergrad degree. I graduated with my bachelor's in exercise science and athletic performance. And once I was done playing volleyball, I just couldn't get myself to leave the athletic world. So I decided to pursue a master's degree in athletic training. So I was still able to help athletes and be a part of their journey as well. And I've had a lot of experience working with Division I and professional athletics as well. And I feel like what I've learned in those rotations has ultimately led me to the person and clinician that I am today. So I only hope to help as many people as I can possible.
All right, lovely. 50 seconds. Very, very good. All righty. So why don't you tell me a little bit about Show Up Fitness and what you know?
I do know that you guys are a part of the personal training, I guess, world in a sense, and you are providing personal training internships to those that are interested in the profession and just giving them a good basis to then grow their personal businesses as well as possibly be a part of a business that's already formed. And I was very attracted to that just because I do like the idea of like the entrepreneurial life and being able to get the information from somebody that has possibly already been in that position to then create a successful business for myself. So that's why I chose to reach out to you.
Okay. And how many gyms do we have?
That I am not 100% sure.
You know where our internship locations are?
I do know they're all over. I know that you are in Los Angeles is where your home base is. But I don't know the exact locations for everywhere else.
That's right. And now what I'll do is I'll kind of poke in there. So it's like, this would be like a stop of the interview. And that's like the real part where I think it's great when you do an interview is to really do your research on the company. If you were to go to an Equinox, I could tell you everything about Equinox. They currently have 106 locations. Their goal is to get to 200 by 2030. So you can go and look in there. If they're a public company, you can find out when they were first established. You can find out they're in SEC with going public. There's a specific, I forget the title, but you can read everything about what their goals are, their core values, where they want to be. And so if you're in a room of 10 people, you got to assume that those 10 people didn't do their research. So you really will stand apart from those 10 by knowing everything about the company. So again, I like to use Equinox and Lifetime because those are two large companies. A lot of trainers like to go there. And so tell me everything that you know. So it shows me that you did your due diligence and that you are really interested in the company and furthering your stay here, not just a quick little Instagram look or Twitter look. I was talking to a candidate the other day, and that's just how it is today. So if you want to stand out from the competition, you got to be different. And so this person said, do you guys have a website? It tells me a lot right there because it's so easy to tell, especially with technology, if someone has a website. You can just type in Show Up Fitness. What's the first thing that pops up? And so make sure to do your due diligence, which would lead me into the next question. And this isn't a narcissistic question. It's just to see if you have done a little bit of research. And so can you tell me a little bit more about Chris Hitchcock, myself? Great. So again, it's just
I do. Yeah. I mean, I do know that you're certified strength and conditioning specialist because I did go and look at your LinkedIn profile.
great. That's huge right there. Going, and it's like I tell people, you got to get really good at stalking. Go to LinkedIn, go to Facebook. I want you to know everything about the person who's interviewing you, because what you could have is a bond. So you played sports. If you looked on there and you saw I'm a big Texas fan, I went to the University of Connecticut, and maybe you worked with someone who went there. By name dropping that in the interview, I'm sold. And I'm going to talk to you about sports because I'm a sports fanatic. I love it. Oh my God, you work with him. You know her. That's so cool. What do you think about this? And what we'll do is the guard will come down and we'll just have a normal conversation. So at the end of it, as your employee or your hiring manager, I just had 10 people who aced the interview. But at the end of the day, I'm thinking, I don't know anything about them. It was a facade. They tell me their strengths, they tell me their weaknesses, which we'll go over. But I want someone who's real, and just having a conversation with someone is going to put you at the top of the totem pole. And so, if it'd be simple to do a quick little research, great how you found out the CSCS. We teach personal trainers in person, online. We have weekend seminars. We have physical locations in San Diego, Santa Monica, Los Angeles, West Hollywood, and then non-physical in Austin, Texas. And we do seminars. So we're going to be in Philly this month. We're going to be in Austin next month. And then I've written a book, How to Become a Successful Trainer. And so again, it's just to see if you've done your research on the person who's interviewing you. And if you were to go to an Equinox or a Lifetime, the first call is usually from a recruiter, and then they're going to tell you who you're meeting with. And so with Instagram today, you could go in and find out, have you looked at some spots that you potentially like on your list? Like, I want to go train there, or I want to go work there. Do you have some spots you've thought of?
I do not at the moment. I was more so focused on trying to just graduate and get certified as an athletic trainer. And then I wanted to get dual certified in either strength and conditioning or personal training. So I was just kind of using this as a way to kind of feel out what the personal training career would look like in a sense.
And so, I mean, your accolades with the athletic training are 10 times superior than anything out there for personal training, at least. If you wanted to be an actual trainer, one thing I do encourage is diversification on your resume. So the fact that you have your athletic training is huge, because you have so much hands-on with injuries, and it gives me a lot of comfort knowing that, okay, we could have that specialist with injuries. We don't have a therapist. We do have a therapist, but let's pretend we didn't. That could be our go-to, and you could offer continuing education for our trainers. So that's a huge separation that you have amongst other trainers. Now, I would just diversify yourself with certifications, meaning you can put on your resume NASM. Even though you're not certified, you can still put National Academy of Sports Medicine overhead squat assessment. And then you could put CSCS because you said you want to get that. And once you get that, that would be all you need to really put. But if you wrote on there NSCA, did you do much with school with NSCA?
No, not much.
ACSM?
No.
So, that's something that we teach through our internship. Is I like to see that on the resume, because again, you're unique because you're athletic training. So I like that. But the average trainer, they're just going to have one certification. They're just going to have NASM or ACE or ISSA. And what that tells me is that they're very narrow-minded and they haven't really explored much out there. So I love athletes. So, I mean, you're already 10 times further than anyone else, because there's something about athletes that just, they know how to work with people. They're punctual. There's just the little things that go so far, because as you know, playing volleyball, if you stroll in 15 minutes late, your ass is in big trouble. So you already have a huge advantage with people with the athletic training. So we'll just suggest getting some more diversification for training there. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your strengths and weaknesses? Choose one on each.
Strength, I would say I am really good at working with a team, and I've always loved working alongside other individuals. I feel like you can accomplish so much more working with more than one person, and you can only go so far with just yourself. So being able to build off of other people's ideas and get opinions on other things from other people, and just all working together to reach a common goal is something that I have always felt I'm stronger in. And then weakness, I would say I'm very hard on myself. And I think that just comes from being an athlete my whole entire life, is I hold myself to a very high standard. And if I don't meet that standard, or if I'm not performing at that specific level that I see myself being able to perform at, then I tend to get down on myself.
And what do you do in those times when you're down?
I just try to bring it back to realize that you always have to go through the like stepping stones in order to get to a goal. So if you're not performing at your best at the beginning, like there's always room for improvement, and you can always get up to that.
Awesome. Love that weakness. Always try to turn that weakness into a strength. And the weaknesses are interesting because people will really dig deep and give you stuff that is like, I didn't want to hear that. Or it's like, wow, I can't believe you told me that. So just being able to flip that script, you hear that, okay, someone's hard on themselves. That means that, you know, if they have 10 assessments and they only sign up 2, that's the type of person who's going to learn more and figure it out so we can get to 5 or 6 sales on the next one. So that's a really good weakness. What about your, I like to put you on the spot real quick, but you have a background with athletic training, which is great. Could you tell me the 17 muscles around the shoulder?
You have the delts, the subscap, the infraspinatus, supraspinatus, the pec minor, pec major, and
You got 6.
Yeah.
What else we
Biceps,
got?
triceps.
There you go. Good.
Teres major, teres minor.
10.
You said 17?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, geez. The tricep, or not tricep, I already said tricep, the trapezius.
Good.
And then the lat.
Good.
What am I at now? 12?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, goodness. I definitely saw this on your Instagram. Everybody was doing this as a challenge.
I'll give you a couple hints. So you got a couple of the majors and minors, but there's 2 more.
Serratus.
That's one. Good. What's deep to the trapezius? Retractors of the scapula.
Why can't I even think of this?
Mid-back muscles.
Oh my gosh, why am I blanking?
Major and minor. Starts with an R.
Oh, rhomboids.
There you go. Major, minor. And then the 2 more difficult ones, you got the serratus, which is good, but it's a humeral flexor. It's the coracobrachialis.
Oh,
And then you have your levator scapula. You could throw in your omohyoid, but we don't really talk much about the omohyoid because it doesn't do much with training. But that's one of the things that we focus on with our level 1. And so, you know, people who want to ever train it, show up and go through our program, you have to have a level 1 coach. And that's the equivalent of a CPT, but it just shows that you know your anatomy. And that would be the next question. I won't do it on you, but being able to design a program on the spot. So I would say, I'll give you a hypothetical client, 35 years old, wants to lose weight. I would give you someone who didn't have any athletic background. It'd be Gen Pop, because that's who we focus on. And so I'd like to see that you can design a program on the spot. What about, could you tell me why we should hire you over the prior 17 candidates that I just interviewed?
I think that being able to work in very fast-paced environments, just from my clinical experience, I would be able to apply what I've learned in the clinical settings in the show up setting as well, and just be able to provide that different outlook on how to treat patients, from being able to take what I've learned in athletic training and apply it into personal training.
Great. So I love you. You're on the team. We bring you on. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I ultimately would like to have my own business, and then 5 years down the road, maybe even another 10 years down the road, have my own gym in order to train my own clients.
Love it. Now, from a business perspective, why don't I love it?
Because it could probably take longer than
No.
5 to
Nope.
10 years.
So do a role reversal right now. You are the owner of a location. You're bringing on this great talent, athletic trainer. She's talking about patience, big vision, love it. But then you want to be somewhere else.
Oh, yeah.
And so whenever an employee asks that, you have to kind of, as I say, fabricate the truth. Just tell them what they want to hear. So, I know that you guys are growing. I would love an opportunity to grow within your wellness brand 5 years from now, grow your company from 6 gyms to 12. I'm back up in Idaho. I'm in New York. I'm in Florida, wherever, and I'm helping grow the brand and giving a lot of strategic innovations to help the brand continue to grow internationally. And so like that would be, oh shit, that's a big thinker. Love that. And your response is great. And especially today, it's selfish of me to, as the business, to think that you're going to have people that are going to come in and be there forever, which we don't expect. But just to give that corporate answer, especially at the gyms, like the big four, Equinox, Lifetime, 24, LA Fitness, you just tell them what they want to hear. And they want to hear that you want to move up in the ranks. You want to get into management. You want to help that brand because that's what the corporate monster wants. But your answer, it wouldn't be necessarily bad. It just shows me that you're entrepreneurial. So I like that. And then last but not least, do you have any questions for me?
Yes, I actually had a couple for you. What made you decide to pursue a degree, or not a degree, I guess, a career in personal training?
Yeah, so I had my first trainer when I was in 4th grade. I've always been into this stuff and always hurt, wanted to get into physical therapy, wasn't smart enough. That damn physics screwed me. And so started training and had a pretty big chip on my shoulder because I came from one of the best kinesiology programs in the world. And there were some sharp trainers out there. And I found out that they went to these trade schools, never heard of them. And then I ended up learning more about the trade school and teaching for one. I love the teaching aspect, but I saw a lot of flaws. And so then started my own business. And now our ultimate goal is to change the fitness industry because certifications don't mean you're qualified. And in my book, I talk about 90% of trainers who do get certified quit within the first year. It's because they don't have a great background like you. You have an amazing foundation, and trainers lack that. They come in, and even the fact that you didn't study or prepare for the 17 muscles, but you were able to name 14, 15 of them. The average trainer, maybe 3, maybe. Couldn't tell you rotator cuff muscles. They couldn't tell you the lats are going to insert around there. They might they'll say pecs, but they don't know what pecs mean, like major, minor. And so the average trainer doesn't have that foundation of functional anatomy, and they have no idea how to program. So where you could get and, fine tune some of your programming for Gen Pop, because that's a flaw I would see within athletic trainers. You're working with elite. I don't have elite. Show up is going to be Gen Pop. It's going to be my mom who's 80 years old. How would you design a program for her? Do you know how to regress and how to progress? Mm-hmm. And so I saw this glaring flaw in the industry that you have, if you look at your athletic training, hands-on learning. Could you imagine going through that program, just reading a textbook and never taping an ankle, never, looking at doing did you ever do like a Lockman's test or anything?
Yeah.
Could you imagine just reading about it and never doing it? And so that's the fitness industry. You go get, whether it's your NASM or your ISSA, your ACE, you read a textbook, and then now you're quote unquote qualified. And it's unfortunate because that certified trainer is putting themselves in the same category as myself. And I'm not saying I'm better, but I have a fairly decorated background. And when someone can't even tell me basic shoulder anatomy or few muscles of the lower body, our expectations are you should be able to name at least 20. Now, you ultimately do the industry a disservice because when you do talk with an athletic trainer or a therapist or a chiro or a doctor, you can't speak on their level. And so you're to put nicely, you're a nincompoop. And it's like the doc could say, talk about an ACL, and they're like, is that shoulder or is that hip? Oh, it's knee, right? And they're like, I'm going to send this patient to work with this trainer who doesn't even know the basics behind injuries. I don't feel comfortable doing that. And so our ultimate vision is to get more hands-on, and that's what the internships provide, where you understand how to regress and progress. And then you can go to level 1, level 2, level 3. And our level 3 is geared towards the CSCS, where it's advanced programming. But even as you know, the CSCS is highly respected. When you compare it to the athletic training, it's not even on the same level because there's still no hands-on learning. You don't learn how to do a power clean, a push jerk, deadlifts. And so you read a very thick, esoteric book and you're now a strength coach, but you can tell me how muscle contracts with actin and myosin. Cool. Can you relate to an athlete? Can you get the buy-in? Because as you know, because you work with athletes, if you can't talk the talk with an athlete and you're just talking this mumbo jumbo sciencey stuff, they're going to be like, I don't want to work with you.
Yeah.
And so that's my story in a nutshell.
So I do have 2 more questions if you have a few minutes.
Absolutely.
My other question was, what's your philosophy when it comes to working with clients?
So safety first. Never train a client like you would train yourself, in the sense that you see a lot of circus stuff out there, Bosu ball, stability ball, mumbo jumbo, and it's cool, may get a lot of likes or follows on Instagram, but ultimately we got into this industry to help people. And so when you have someone in front of you, you ask great questions, you learn about them, you build a rapport, you screen them appropriately, make sure they are ready to exercise. And if they have some contraindications, you reach out to the physician, you network with them. You have a great team who you work with, as we have physicians, doctors, therapists, RDs. We don't have an athletic trainer. Maybe we need to get you. But our goal is to help that person get their results and do it in a safe way. So ultimately, it's always the client first before profits or anything.
Exactly. I like that a lot. And then the only other question I had was, what's some advice you'd give to somebody that's looking to pursue a career in personal training?
I would obviously read my book, and I would get into our YouTube. We have some great calls from one of the ones that sticks out is from Dr. Andy Galpin. Not sure if you're familiar with him, but he is a professor, top tier MMA coach. And I did an interview just like this with him. And I said, what would be your advice for new and upcoming trainers? And his first one was my favorite one. And he says, the answer is always yes. And I don't care if it's a 5 o'clock workout on Saturday morning. I don't care if it's a 10 o'clock session at night. I have trainers on a regular basis. They'll tell me that, they'll only accept $150 clients. They won't do anything less than 100 now. And they've been training for less than a year. And they want, but they're not investing, and there's no skin in the game. And ultimately today, as an owner, as a corporation, you want to grow, you want people who are going to bring leverage to your company, and leverage would be doing anything. And if I were to say, hey, I'm just really tired today, you have the capacity of, I'm going to bring Chris some coffee. It's not like you're my assistant, but you have that extra 10% in you, because that's what I want with our clients. When a client says that, I'm just having a bad week, then, you bring them their favorite candy bar. You give them a balloon, you give them a pink star, whatever. You are that extra 10% for them, because ultimately we want the brand to be known as the best, and you need to go that extra 10%. And trainers today stick in their comfort zone. They want more by not investing their time wisely. So I would just say, always with Andy Galpin, the answer is always yes. And just look around to see how you can help others. And anytime you bring in business to the company, you're going to have a lot of leverage, and you're going to be a huge asset to the company.
Perfect. Thank you for answering those.
And I'll go through and give you an amazing report on everything. Everything was really, really great. Loved how you asked some great questions at the end. A lot of trainers will get nervous about the interview. And then at the end, when they say any questions for me, they're like, whew, it's over. Nope, I'm out of here. So I would say that's a huge, strong point to separate yourself, is to ask some great questions just like those. And it's hurdles that you were faced with. If you were in my position, how would you pursue the career as a trainer differently? Looking at the new generation today, what's the biggest difference you see with millennials and Gen X or whatever it is, because of the new change? And those are questions that get the person to think. Like, I actually had to think when you asked me that question, and that's really, really good, because ultimately when I come back to my team and I talk to them and say, all right, so, I may not be the best with names, but if you have 30 applicants, it's going to be, oh, who was that person that asked that question? Oh, that's maybe number 23 or whatever it is, but it's like, okay, I remember that question. It made me think. I really liked her. Let's bring her in for the second one. Versus most of them are going to be very simple. They're going to come in a Gold's Tea tank top. They're going to come in gym attire. When you come in and you look the part, you have the resume and you do some research, then you'll absolutely crush it. And wherever you want to go, you'll do great with. So really impressed with your interview today.
Perfect. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So